Well, good morning and welcome from Kobe, Japan. This is Patrick at Qdabra. And today, really happy to have you here. We haven't done a webinar in many moons, maybe one moon, maybe 2 moons, quite a while, several weeks, if not a month or two. And thanks for being so patient. We've had a bunch of challenges. Obviously, I've been moving from Seattle to Kobe. So I'm now working out of Kobe. I made a promise to my wife 33 years ago that we would move back to Japan, and that's why we're here. Took a long time. It took us 4 years to move. So I've got a 500 megabit connection apparently, so this should sound fine to you. It took us about a month to get through the move process, actually more than that. And then Mel's been sick, and we've had a bunch of different webinar issues with timing with customers. And so we're finally doing this webinar we planned to do 3 months ago, and thanks for being so patient. And we've actually updated the webinar because there's been this other thing that's happened that's been even more tumultuous, more of a change, more chaos to us than either the pandemic or the move to Kobe. And that is that these new AI language models have come out, and they've rapidly been changing the way we think about forms and business and UI. And so this webinar is really about a bunch of things, but we're trying to consolidate everything into one webinar. Well, actually, it's going to be a series of 4. So this is part 1. But the webinar today is really about this first part of this disruption that we're calling, the Cambrian, explosion of AI, which is finally upon us this year with GPT and ChatGPT. And of course, there's 2 or 3 dozen others out there, but the main thing that's changed is ChatGPT because of the interface. The interfaces provide humans to access the technology. So of course, we've been thinking for 3 or 4 months about how can we actually use this in forms? How can we keep our customers whole and help them move to the future and use this technology? And the key disruptions in my mind are, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this. There's 2 slides on this, and then we're going to move to talking about this first use case for this technology, which we're going to demo today with one of our customers. Andy Sworan is here from Real Alloy. We're really happy to have him here. Mel's going to do the demo, so Mel's with us. But I'll spend just another minute here talking about these 2 initial slides. So the first thing is that we've been using ChatGPT since December, early December, end of November. And initially, we had no clue what we could do it for, right? We were like, well, we got to look at this, but we don't know. And then finally in January, we're like, well, we can get the developers to write code better. We can actually get, the marketing people can write newsletters better. You can email customers faster. We can talk in different languages. Okay, great. But that still wasn't quite satisfying. And then finally, literally 2 weeks ago, ChatGPT 4.0 came out. And that was a big shift because the quality of the English, of the Japanese, of the whatever language you want to pick, of the 50 or 60 languages that it supports, 100 is too much, but it does write wonderful prose in an Osakan dialect in Japanese, as if you were a comedian, just like you would imagine. So it's really quite amazing in many ways. And so we're using it and coding as well. So GPT 4.0 coding is much, much better than 3.5. And so this has really been a huge wake-up call. But the thing that's been a wake-up call is this first bullet here, which is we have a new technology revolution upon us. There's nobody that's saying this is not a big deal, right? This is a big deal. You guys need to think about how you can use this if you're not using it already for all of your daily tasks, which is going to help you. But also it changes the way we use technology. So it changes. We're not using Google anymore. We're using ChatGPT. We're not using translation apps. We're using ChatGPT. We're not using. This changes a lot of things. We with emails and everything else. So the second thing that's really key is everyone has their personal copy. So Alpaca, which is from Stanford. Not from Stanford, but from Stanford. This was a mobile version of it that was released last week, actually, that you can install on your phone. That means you can actually have your own personal AI that's very similar to the current one that's out there at no cost. So this means that everyone can have their own personal AI and use it for filling out forms. And then also last week, they announced this plugin architecture. And this actually implies that people will chat to fill out forms. They won't actually use a UI. However, we still need the UI to prove that a human actually verified it. So we still need the two-dimensional form factor of a UI, the form that you have, to fill it out and sign it off and say, this is actually what I filled out. So the text-based, chat interface still needs to be recorded somehow, and that's what we talk about this PDF. So it doesn't completely mean your forms are completely worthless, which is a good thing. So what we're doing this year is we've looked at various ways to improve our business based on this and help you guys out. Our main goal is to increase your reward. And that means leveraging this new technology to get more out of your forms, helping your users get more out of the forms. Reducing the time to design the new forms. This is a little bit more difficult. We've been trying to figure out the second one here, reduce time to design new forms, for quite a while. And it's challenging because there's a huge shift. I mean, we can have a prompt in Forms Designer to help you design forms in certain new sections, but it's really hard. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to improve your forms. And at the same time, we're trying to improve our support page and create a new portal with a chatbot. So how do we improve your forms? There's three ways we've thought of. Number one is what we're going to talk about today, translation. But number two is to use a task pane to help provide a prompt to your users to help them fill out forms faster and with better validation. So those are three things we can do quickly in the next month or so and roll them out to you. So you can actually add this to your forms, make your forms better. You can say that they're ChatGPT integrated. Okay, so the first thing that we're talking about today is multi-language form support. And this actually started over a year ago before ChatGPT became such a big deal. We did this wonderful translation support for Real Alloy, which is a big customer of ours, a new customer from last year. And it was actually inspired by Andy. Andy's been a great inspiration for us. We've done 3 or 4 webinars last year based on his ideas. And he has a team in Ohio and a team in Mexico, and they manage, in fact, let me just welcome Andy here to the meeting. Andy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So I just want to quickly segue to Brian's slide, which is you, because Brian's busy and you're standing in for him, and you're doing all the work there anyway. So thanks for being here. And I should have had your picture, but we didn't have time. Do you want to say a few words about Real Alloy? And then I've got 3 slides here, I think, for you. And I'm just, do you want to talk about this at all?
Yeah, well, the organization is a recycler of metal products, primarily aluminum. We're worldwide, actually. We have European operation, we have a lot of North American operation, and South America operation. And so the primary languages that we have are English and Spanish. And so we wanted to be able to let our Spanish engineers and managers put events or safety events in their native language. And then we wanted to be able to translate it into English for people in Cleveland to be able to understand what was happening. Actually, the project was initiated getting from SharePoint Designer and InfoPath off to another forms tool. And by going with Qdabra, realized that we were going to save a boatload of money to rewrite all the code, get some very complex form. And of course, all very well done.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for saying that. Thanks for being here. So you've got these 20 forms that you're using, the health and safety. And what does the E stand for again? Health and safety.
Health, safety, and environmental. HSE.
So this is like, we're talking about like issues that happen on the floor, right? With people I'm guessing there's like a foundry and you're melting down this recycled aluminum, and there could be possible problems with that. So I guess we've got a sample here. In fact, I'm going to switch to Mel real quick to do the demo. And the demo is to help the customers, in Cleveland and in wherever it is in Mexico, talk to one another more easily. Mel, can you share out and show the demo?
Yeah, sure thing. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So, okay, I'm no longer the presenter for some reason.
Okay, let me make you presenter.
Thank you.
And I don't know if you have access to their form as well. I know we got the sample form, which is great, and we should start with that. But if you've also got the ability to demo their form, that might be good too.
Yeah, I just need to log in, and I can do that while you speak to the other slides later, sure.
Okay, great.
Okay. So here's our Google Translate demo for just the purpose of maybe comparing what Google does versus the OpenAI's ChatGPT. Here we're going to show two forms. First, this is again the Google Translate form, where let me just refresh here just so you can see that we do have the translation logic running on form load. So right now we've got the title text there in Spanish, but if I hover over the text, we'll see the English translation because I'm seeing, or I have English selected here as my language. If I do, let's see, Japanese, although I don't understand myself, but if I hover again, then that gets translated to the language that I selected, and that's pretty fast, I suppose.
And adding this support to your form, I remember when we did this last summer, you added this support to the forms. It took a few hours, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we added the calls to the Google Translate, Google Cloud Services API, and all that.
And then we did a webinar on this. I want to say it was like August or September. And then the big change now, I think, is you've got this hover over, which is kind of cool. What else? Right. What else are the changes from the last webinar?
The changes from the same Google Translator versus the OpenAI?
Just the Google Translate. Just looking at that for a second, because I know there's been a change from that too.
Yeah, I think right. In this new version, this is the version 2, right? We're not storing the English or the translated text in the main data source, and you can probably talk about that. We need to preserve the data. Yep.
Yeah, that's really key because we don't want to change your form. So in order to add multi-language capabilities to your forms, 3 to 4 hours per form, right, or less, because actually Mel's created this reusable component that you can just add to your forms. Now, you may want to wait until we have the ChatGPT version after we do the next demo, but literally it's probably an hour or less to add multi-language support to your forms. And this is useful if you've got people you've got a lot of staff that are in a different language or they're not native in English, and you want to give them a hover over so they can actually read and process the form more quickly. That's the key value proposition with this Google Translate. And up until, I want to say November, actually I should say 2 weeks ago, up until GPT-4, and here Mel's showing this larger text that she's typed in Spanish. And Andy, just for your information, we actually asked ChatGPT to generate a health and safety report we just made up this based on what we thought what might go wrong. And you can read here what it came up with. We actually had it generate the Spanish first. So so if you want to have multi-language support in your forms, it's very easy. It's about an hour per form for the Google Translate, and we'll have a ChatGPT version with the benefits of that are more than Google in a week or two. That'll also be about an hour. You just add this to your forms. You don't have to change the main data source. You don't have to change the UI. We can do it all with your forms as is. And that's because Mel is awesome, and we have these new APIs for doing this. And because Qdabra Forms supports, calling these web services without code. So you can just send a command, hey, convert this, go ahead, do it. And you can call these APIs. So we're calling, in this case, GPT 3.5. I think maybe it's 4.0. Actually, it's Google. So Mel, let's do the ChatGPT one.
Yeah.
So the
So
main
he's gonna refresh. They would
let me
look
prompt
almost.
for a second.
Yeah.
Let me prompt for a second here. So we've got this ChatGPT version, and what you're going to see is a little bit different here. You see it. There's a tone on the right. There's a drop down at the top, and we'll stick with formal for now. I want to stick with formal. Let's just change it to formal, and then the main difference with ChatGPT is, unlike Google, Google is using a statistical language model. So I'm not going to go into the details, but basically it's not. Maybe they've changed it in the last week or two, but up until recently, the Google translation mechanism was not based on large language models. It was a statistical natural language model. So the quality is different. So go ahead, and Google quality has been amazing up until ChatGPT. So you've got the same text here. Is it different? I don't even remember what it was before. Spillage, that's quite a word.
Yeah.
I believe it translated spillage. If you hover over the top of the
This
text, do you get spillage?
This one.
So that's ChatGPT, that's OpenAI, that's ChatGPT. Go back to
Yeah.
Google. What do you get for Google? Different. Spill. Okay. So they are very different. So let's go back to ChatGPT. And yeah, go ahead and translate it in. And actually, let's instead of formal, let's do the summary. So go ahead and select summary for the tone. And I know we haven't even tested this. Short, yeah. So one of the benefits of this new, you're gonna have to type in the full report too, by the way. That's what I'm going for here. Yeah. One of the benefits of ChatGPT is, and all these AIs out there, is that they can provide a condensed summary. In this case, you've got a paragraph. Let's go back to the Google one. What does it show on Google? So the Google API has a summary form factor. It also has a bunch of other things, but what it doesn't have is it doesn't have the vibe. So you can say, hey, I want you to translate this in a humorous vibe, or in a formal vibe, or in a, so ChatGPT or the OpenAI stuff has better translation because of the language model, and it has the vibe. So you can actually say, hey, I want you to talk to me in the dialect of Southern Los Angeles, translate this in that vibe, and it will do that. Now, why would that be important for forms? Well, it probably isn't, but if you want to help your users out, you want to give them an interaction. So our goal next, and I'm going to switch back to my slides, Mel, while you go find that other demo.
Okay.
Because our next goal, I want to just give people a kind of a roadmap here for, can you see my screen, Mel? I'm not showing that I'm sharing. Hold on a second here. I guess I need to right-click my name and make myself a presenter. Okay, so let me know when you can see my screen.
I can now, yeah.
So just to recap, differences between Google and OpenAI. I mean, it's very similar in terms of the API. It's really a couple hours of work, and we're going to make it even simpler for you. So we'll give you a Google or OpenAI. We have the Google XTP, the reusable XML template part today. We'll give you the OpenAI one in a week or two. It's going to take you less than an hour to add to your forms. But the benefit of OpenAI is that you've got better translation quality because it's deep learning. It's more customizable, and the language support. Google has more language support, but ChatGPT has this vibe. In terms of pricing, Google is essentially free. It's some small number of dollars per month for thousands of forms, translation-wise. ChatGPT is currently $20 a month, and who knows what they're going to do in the future. But right now it's capped at $20 a month. So you have to add minimum 20, maximum 20, and we don't know what's going to happen in the future. They're both using JSON HTTP endpoints. In general, we think the quality of ChatGPT is far superior to Google, and Google was far superior to anything before it. So we've got a huge leap in quality here. With ChatGPT, you've got a lot of parameters. You can change the temperature, the top P. These are some interesting things that change the way the algorithm works, make it more wordy or not. And I guess the key thing here, once again, is, and just go back to this previous slide about where we're going. And Andy, I'm sorry for not calling on you more. We've got a lot of change happening in the world, and we're trying to address it in this webinar, along with having you here. But what we're trying to do this year, and actually in the next 2 months, is improve your forms using ChatGPT. And there's 3 plugin ideas that we have. You just saw the translation one. We're going to show it to you in a real live form here in a second. Actually, we'll show you the Google version of it. We're going to be adding a task pane to forms to allow users to automatically fill them in and get suggestions from the chatbot. And it will be, they will see that they're chatting, and they'll be able to prompt it and say, how do I fill out this form? What do you suggest? What should I fill in for this field? They'll give it some options. They'll just click a button and it'll automatically fill. So there'll be a task pane that will give them the ability to chat and speed up the entry of the input. And eventually just to use their cell phone and talk to it. But right now we're going to put in the task pane because that's off to the right. We don't have to affect the main form. We can surface the chatbot in the task pane without changing the UI in a huge way. And then finally, we'll use that task pane to fix validation errors at the click of a button as well. And then in June, we have a new support portal coming out. We'll have a chatbot that's trained, pre-built on all of the support tickets we've had over the last 15 years. So hopefully giving you some self-help immediately if you want that. And then of course, we'll jump on a call with you an hour or 2 later if that doesn't help. So those are the ways that we're trying to leverage this technology. Mel, were you able to find the actual Real Alloy form?
Still trying to sign in, sorry.
Still working on it. Okay. And Andy, how's the reception been there? I think I need to unmute you. You're self-muted. Andy, if you're still there.
I'm working from home, so I mean.
Yeah, it's all good. How has the reception been for the forms?
Oh, from the end user. Well, we're still working with the HSE department because now that they've seen what we can do with the info path to Qdabra forms, now they're getting all kinds of items. And so now it's more like trying to tap the brakes a little bit so we can project put into place going into major revisions. But what we really envision, where the whole language translation came into play, is that a form which was initially created to collect event data, as broken arm, a tow motor accident, a car accident, and turning it into actually a corrective action, so that other managers at other locations go in there, see what happened, how it got dealt with, and then going forward. So this is our original stuff.
Yeah, this is great, Bill. Thanks for flipping here and pivoting. So this is the Spanish version of the corrective action form, right?
That's right.
Yep.
Okay, and so it's got the corrective and preventive action, and then and what we saw earlier with the samples is just changing the value text. But what Mel shows here is we're actually also changing the title text. So
labels, yes.
The labels, thank you. Yeah, so this is a wonderful improvement. And it's very easy to change this from Google to ChatGPT. If you want to do that, Andy, let us know. We'll do it at our cost. We're so smitten with this new technology that we'll definitely give you some comp time there. Thanks, Mel, for that quick demo. Anything else to show here?
Yeah, I think that's all I have. If you want to show a bit of the behind the scenes, I guess, calling the API and then those commands, or maybe we can do.
Yeah, this is just similar to what we did for Google, right? We're just doing the XML to JSON and the make request. I mean, this is just straightforward, XML to JSON, make requests, JSON to XML, and then set the data, right?
Yeah, except in OpenAI, since it's like acting or accepting prompts, right? We send in something like this one: translate the following text to English in a funny way.
Mm-hmm.
So we pass. It's sort of like just a normal prompt, right, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
instead of actual values that we're trying to pass.
Now, where do you
Something like
specify the model that you're using? Because you got the max tokens there. Where do you specify the actual GPT model?
Yeah, right
Okay,
here
so
is the
3.0,
HTTP endpoint URL.
Yeah, so this is using
that's the
3.5 or 3.0 or whatever 3 stands for. It's not 4.0. So what you're seeing with translation, even though it was quite impressive compared to Google, it still was a previous version. And now the GPT-4 is like 10x better than, or 20x better than the GPT-3. Okay, so for the purpose of time, Mel, I'm going to quickly switch the slides here. We're going to finish this out. But thanks so much for the demo. And Andy, thank you so much for being here and giving us the shout out. I appreciate that very much. So first part of this AI series is going to be on translation. We just finished that. Please email us, support@qdabra.com, if you want to add this to your forms. We'd be more than happy to help you at no cost. We'll spend up to an hour and show you how to add to your forms to multi-language enable them, which is, I think, is the first real benefit of this AI stuff, even though people are using it for all kinds of other crazy ways. So if you got questions, it's a great time to put the questions into the question area of GoToWebinar. There's a questions tab. You should be able to type in your question there or just say, hey, thanks a lot. Qdabra Forms, as Andy was mentioning, we've set this up to be the lowest cost, highest value migration path for your InfoPath forms. So if you got these old InfoPath forms, we're the only company that allows you to migrate them to the future without changing the format, without changing your data. Everything migrates. And of course, in Real Alloy's case, we've added all these cool new features, including, the multi-language support, but other things as well. And that hasn't been the major focus, major effort in terms of hours. I would say that the major effort has been migrating the data from the old site to the new site. If you don't have to migrate from one site to another, it's relatively simple. But in our case, we had to actually make sure that the workflows didn't break and everything else. And so we had to make, kind of test everything and convert everything separate, and then convert the main libraries and the main lists. In Real Alloy's case, they had 20 forms. About half of them were list forms, and then the other ones were full library forms. And so Andy was absolutely wonderful in helping us test these and setting it. He managed the whole project, and it's all thanks to him that this was a success. We didn't really do a whole lot. We just did a little bit of the engineering.
You guys did Qdabra work, and I just wanted to make sure that we can have both the test environment and production environment up in parallel. And we were actually able to do that so that I can open up a list item right next to a form viewer item, exact same item, compare the two forms against each other.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andy. We love working for you. We'd love to do more work for you and Brian. It's been a pleasure, and we hope that the user adoption continues to go smoothly. And Mel, thanks for putting this demo together after a long hiatus, and it's great that you're back and feeling well.
My pleasure.
Any other questions for us? I don't see any questions out there, but thanks for joining our webinar this week, and we will package this up and put it on YouTube, and then we're going to do another webinar in a couple weeks, or maybe 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know. But the next big webinar is going to also be on ChatGPT, and we'll show a task pane with a prompt and allowing customers to more quickly fill out the form and get feedback on their fill outs. We also have a lot of research we've been doing on these various new large language models, ChatGPT, Anthropomorphics, Claude Plus, and others, Luthros and whatever. There's quite a few of these AIs out there, and we've been paying way more attention than we probably should. However, we really do think this is a revolution happening this year and next, and we want to make sure that we're not missing the boat. In some ways, this is more of a disruption than the pandemic was. Yeah, I mean, the pandemic is still happening, and it's this long burn, and it's too bad that the governments don't have more money to help people. But that's just the way it is, and I guess we just need to wear masks more or something to stay safe. Or if you've got natural immunity, go for it, because not everyone has a problem with the virus. But yeah, we're really focused on the AI stuff. We think it's really exciting. We're not as worried about it as these 1,000 people that signed this letter yesterday with Elon Musk to stop the development because we were worried about AI taking over. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think we're really looking at a huge advance in humanity. The AI bots, at the very minimum, will help us communicate with one another better because they'll give us tools to be funnier or to talk in a better way to other people in a different language, whatever. So I think the AI bots will help humans. I mean, they're doing actually this big thing with some whales in the Dominican Republic where the whales actually talk to one another. Whales are sentient, and we just haven't cracked the language yet. But they're using the OpenAI API to learn the language of the whales, the sperm whales, and it's really fantastic. And and it's I think that the species as a whole will become better understanding one another thanks to AI. And I don't think these we have a question. Okay, thank you. I was trying to fill in some text here. So Susan is saying, shut up. That is amazing. Thank you, Susan. I will shut up and I will go away. Thank you for being here. And thank you, Mel, for doing the webinar and Andy for being here. I hope you guys have a great day. And it's like 12:30 a.m. in Japan. So thanks for putting up with me. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye, everyone.